Hey up my ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. Wow, I'm really excited about today's video because, as you'll have seen from the title, this is the latest deck by one of my favourite, I was going to say tarot creators, but you know, deck creators I think is more pertinent, because where my love affair with Cilla Conway's work started was with the Days of Creation, which I actually got in, it was either a giveaway or a trade, but I got it and loved the art medium, loved how deep and powerful these cards were. Absolutely blown away by the deck. And then Cilla saw the review and told me about a new tarot deck that she had coming out, which was the Shimmering Veil. And if you know me, and you've watched my channel, you will know that this deck in particular has a piece of my soul. It holds a piece of my soul. We talk about soul decks, and my soul deck is and always will be the RWS. But this deck transformed the way I read with cards. It's an incredible deck. The art is stunning. It's very deep. It's very powerful. And I don't know, when I work with this deck, I just feel like I'm working with other dimensions. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And when I did my top 10 decks of 2020, that was my top 10 deck. And then when I did my top 10 decks of all time, that one I mentioned was, you know, if there was room in my heart for another soul deck, then it would be Shimmering Veil. Since then, I went and purchased the Intuitive Tarot, which is one of Cilla Conway's earliest works. I think from the 1990s, and I really enjoy working with that. There's also other decks like the Byzantine Tarot, which was a collaboration deck, but Cilla was the artist for, which I have. And then earlier this year, I got the multi-dimensional Dewas. I think it was earlier this year, could have even been the end of last year. What is time at the moment? I don't know what year I'm on. I think the time is just strange at the moment. But Cilla sent me a message only a couple of days ago to say that she'd instructed her printers to send me a copy of the Book of the Dead Oracle, which is what Cilla, oh, just look. I love how all of her products at the moment are quite uniformed in their style. You know, they really complement each other beautifully. And yeah, I was just really excited about it. I've been reading about them on her website, which I'll link all that information below. But can we just look at this? Just look at how stunning this is presented. It is beautiful with the gold stamping, cold stamping, I should say, the foiling effect. Really beautiful. We've got some of the card images on the side. But what I want to do is I want to read to you the bits that I read from Cilla's website, which talks about this deck, because it's absolutely, Cilla has wrote it and she's written it so beautifully. Obviously do it a lot more justice than I would. So just bear with me and I'll get it up. Okay, so I've got the information here, and again, I will link this below so you can have a look and how to order the deck and everything. But looking at these images, I am in love already. It kind of feels, I feel like this will complement the Shimmering Veil as an oracle. And interestingly, the first line here starts off with, this deck begins at the end, or at least at what we have always believed is the end. And I've just done a walkthrough a couple of days ago of the Cosmovisions, which is also a deck that begins at the point of death. So I feel like the universe is trying to tell me something at the moment. To a large extent, we have been controlled through our fear of death over many aeons. That's true. From the moment we're able to talk, and sometimes even before, we're taken to church or the synagogue or the mosque or the temple, where it is intimated sometimes in these words that if we are good, we will go to heaven, or if we believe in reincarnation, we will be sent through into a new life which is better than the previous one, or if we've been bad, we will go to hell, or pushed down into another life, say as a vegetable. However, I don't believe any of this. I believe that as many of us are born with memories of previous lives, so some form of reincarnation is almost certain. Unfortunately, most children lose those memories by the time they're about 6. There are also hundreds, if not thousands of people who have been recorded as dead in accidents or hospitals who say they have gone up somewhere, are greeted by loving relatives or even shining beings, but are later told that they have work still to do back on Earth. On their return, most of these people change their lives radically. Their values have become very different, even after their short stay in this other realm. That wasn't how this deck started, though. In 2020, so this is just last year, I had just finished the multidimensional Dewa deck and was wondering if there was a common theme to the many paintings still strewn across the floor. I found a ghost horse, a demon, and a strange, rather haunting painting that looked like lost spirits. The country was about to go into lockdown, although we had no way of knowing how serious the virus would be. But something told me that it was the right idea and the right time to produce a Western Book of the Dead. So this isn't to be confused with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But look at some of the artwork. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I can't wait to crack it open. After researching near-death experiences, I began to put these ideas and my intuitions down in paint. Pretty soon, though, I'd realised that whatever happened to us after death, it was unlikely that every spirit would have the same experiences as they died. Some would be filled with wonder and joy, some would be confused, some angry, and few would be mentally vile. And they never arrived at all, but would be lost in a psychic hell. Put it in graphic terms then, there would be 4 paths, each one offering a different experience. That worked well visually. Spirits on path 1, probably the least numerous, who would be clear and sincere from their arrival. Path 2 spirits, maybe most numerous, would have much to regret and are happy to explore this new realm with its many gardens. Path 3, though, would be extremely confused and unhappy. The lost spirits I'd noticed before I began, see above, they aren't even sure they are dead, probably hang around close to their loved ones, joining in seances when they can. Finally, Path 4. They are the Abdurip Spirits, the drug dealers, killers, abusers, liars, cold-hearted psychopaths. They go down instead of up, born out by a man who attempted suicide and returned from near-death experience saying he went to an awful place and wish he hadn't done it. That's interesting. I mean, I have very strong views about, I was a trustee for a charity called SOBS, Sharers of Bereavement by Suicide. And I don't view suicide as a sin, and as a country, we've moved away from that, not burying people who had completed suicide. There are still people today who had lost loved ones, like parents, who had completed suicide and there was nowhere to go and to lay flowers or anything, mainly because of the church. But what Cilla is referring to here is a person's personal, everything's personal if you're a person, but a personal account of what this individual had experienced and recorded. I love this with the dog giving him a hug. It's like the other end of the Rainbow Bridge. The above quote comes from C.S. Lewis, whose Narnia books were formative throughout my childhood. I don't see above quote. Oh, further up and further in. That must be it. He was a well-read Christian who had begun as a pagan, and further up and further in exhorted his characters to journey deeper and higher into the realms of the dead. So too the spirits in this deck journey through the different landscapes they find themselves in the afterlife. The spirits on each path gradually find their way further in, joining together or, as in the case of the fourth path, staying lost and alone, though it is their choice in the end. Many spirits unify their souls and progress. Even the unhappy spirits on the third path find their way further in recovery above, and later some decide that they will choose to reincarnate choices. The rest will move further up and further in until they reach the rainbow bridge and go over into the deepest realms. We have no way of explaining what these will be, particularly as near-death experiencers report that the light and colours, sounds and scents are indescribable. This is a deck where I've allowed myself to imagine the most ideal of places, where not only humans but animals and beings from the furthest dimensions of creation are welcome. A realm which is not fixed or static, but wondrously dynamic. Be aware, though, that as an oracle, it needs to be used carefully. It extends a particularly benevolent energy, but you should not be surprised at the answers if you reach out without respect. And then we get to see some of the cards here. The Book of the Dead Oracle will be delivered to South London on the 3rd of December, so that date has passed now. And we'll start mailing out as soon as possible. So I will, as I say, I will put links below. And this is the other works that I spoke about. So the Byzantine Tarot, Intuitive, Shimmer and Veil. I don't have the Old Gods Tarot. I'm not sure if that's available yet. I'll have to look into that. Dewas and Multidimensional Dewas. And now we have the Book of the Dead. Every single deck here is a masterpiece, in my opinion. All right, so let's dive in. Let's have a look. I love how this is done like, almost like a book, you know, with this being the Book of the Dead. Just going to have a sup of coffee. Okay. There's nothing nicer than opening a brand new deck, is there? It feels beautiful. Wow. I'm not quite sure how this will pick up, but this is Rose Petal. And this is just quality, absolute quality. So this is the Book of the Dead Oracle. We've got this beautiful metallic, and the letters are raised. They feel shiny against this rose petal background. It's got Cilla's name. We have some of the images here. And then it tells you a little bit about the deck. It is a little bit difficult to read. This is an oracle like no other. It takes us over the border into death and into the afterlife and offers the extraordinary sense of light, love and freedom we experience when we too cross over. And having read from the website, you know, we know that this will be split into 4 sections. It's a magnetic closure box. And just like Cilla's other books, we've got a thumbnail, tiny thumbnail of each card. Even the inside has this beautiful. The book 2 is Rose Petal. It feels luxurious. And like all Cilla's books, they set out they're pretty much the same way. And then we have the cards. We've got these little lift up ribbons. Oh, and look at the underneath. Wow, the journey from death to light. And again, this is done in that rose petal. Just beautiful. Possibly one of the nicest oracle boxes I've ever seen. Really gorgeous. They are gilded, as you can see. We'll look at the cards in a second. Let's just have a look at the book. So published in 2021. And then we get Before You Begin. And it says, this deck offers a possible glimpse into the numinous afterlife. and it is quite different from other oracle cards. Few of us have much desire to think about death or anything to do with it, but 2020 was an unusual year, absolutely. Why this deck and why you? There's a little bit about NDEs. Then we've got Psychopomps and other beings, death, the beginning, paths 1 to 4, the higher realms, spirits versus the soul, current thinking about the afterlife, and a deck in miniature, 12 to 13. So this will be a really interesting read, just to sit and read anyway. So a little bit about people's experience as they've come back and reported about their experience of dying, why they've chosen to return back to life, etc. Death being the beginning, the first path, the second path, the third and the fourth path. I wonder if that tells you on the cards which path the cards belong to. We'll have a look in a minute. The higher realms, the spirit versus the soul, current thinking about the afterlife. This is really well put together. There we have the deck in miniature. The artwork looks incredible. And we have 48 cards. Looking at these, starting with death. And then the innermost center. Death, yeah. So I'm not quite sure it tells you the groupings of the 4 paths, but I'm guessing 12 cards, because 48 divided by 4 is 12. So maybe each 4 cards. Yes, it will be, because when we get to card 13, we've got second path, confusion. So that tells you that the first 12 takes you from death to the dance of creation, then the second path to dark glass, then we've got Psychopomp, and that will take us to 36, won't it? Breakthrough, and then we go into choices, farewells. 12, so the first one would be new soul. So yeah, but I don't think it breaks it up, the second path. Well, you've got a little section for your notes as well. The second path, confusion. But I'm not sure it gives you the other paths. There's some resources here. Evidence of afterlife, Findhorn Garden Story, NDs, accounts. So quite a bit of information in here. And again, tells you here about the 4 paths. Okay, so let's have a look at the cards. I think these are pretty much standard size now for Cilla's work. I'll compare it with the Shimmering Veil, but I think it looks pretty much the same size. Yes, exactly the same size, which is really nice. These backs are beautiful. I mean, can we just for a second appreciate these backs? Look at that. Wow. That is stunning. Oh, Cilla, you've really outdone yourself. These decks are beautiful, really beautiful. And even though they're gold, they have this kind of prism, this color prism, a bit like an oil slick with all the different colors of the rainbow. So beautiful, so beautiful. So I'm going to zoom the camera in. We will have a look at each of the images up close, and then I'll come back and give my my thoughts at the end. Cilla does it every time. Every time I hold one of Cilla's decks in my hand, I am lost for words. Again, very deep deck, very, very powerful. What I loved about this, I mean, at first when I was reading kind of the descriptions, in my mind I was thinking, and similarly when I was looking at Cosmovisions, you know, a deck that talks about beyond death and the realms in between, whether that's into reincarnation and rebirth or to the Summerlands, Nirvana, heaven, however you want to determine what that is for you, your idea of heaven, but an afterlife. I kind of think to myself, well, how's that going to help us now? You know, if I'm doing a reading and I'm pulling an oracle card, but it does, you know, because the lessons to be learnt in the afterlife can also be learnt here in the physical realm, right? And what I perhaps didn't, I'm just checking, I'm pretty sure it did, yes. So I noticed, and as I scan through, you get, you know, you get your card meaning, a little bit about Cilla's, you know, experience. But then on the right-hand side, you get your possible interpretation that you can use now, and you can write your notes, you know. So that's there. So you get your divinatory meaning, if you like, as an interpretation, if you wanted to use it that way. But remember, this is, like Cilla said, an oracle with a difference. You will have also noticed, as I was going through the cards, that they're not in groups of 12. The second path and the third path and the fourth path come in, you know, at just in kind of without a particular number. I can't really think of the words I'm trying to say, really. But I just assumed with there being 48 cards and there were 4 different paths. But you rarely get a sense in this deck of that progression, that journey, you know, starting with death. We've got this kind of 2 ways of looking at this. When I first looked at it, I saw like a deathly figure. But now I kind of see, you know, this swishing water, this cave, the dark abyss, the unknown, the beyond, which is the portal out of this life. The spirit rising, you know, it's leaving the body, it's entering through into this new kind of existence. Then we have the passage, this swirling tunnel with the light at the end that so many people describe. The greeting. Lots of people, and I've read quite a bit on near-death experiences, some people are greeted by angels, others by loved ones. Some, particularly Christians, are greeted by Jesus Christ, you know, but that's left to your interpretation. We just see this brilliant source of life, whatever this supreme light energy is. So I like there's that sort of, it's left for your own interpretation, depending on what your belief system is. And then the life review, you know, looking back, and this is almost like a cine reel, you know, of a film of your life. When they say your life flashes before you, but this is the final judgment, really, and we judge ourselves on how we've conducted our life. So we've got this kind of celluloid, that's the word I was looking for, which I just think is beautiful. Innocence regained, you know, going back to source and going back to where everything came from. I love it. This is such a beautiful card. So this is the reunions card, and we've got all our family pets. We've got the bird, the little cat, the dog, giving him such a loving embrace, the horse, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Then we have the first garden. You know, what is that? When we hear first garden, I'm automatically thinking of Garden of Eden, but it's a paradise. And again, different people using this deck will have different interpretations of what that is. But the first garden that we come to, I love the crystal blue water and the beautiful vibrant flowers. The shining tutors, those that then come and help us and teach us and guide us and tell us what we need to know and where we need to go. The reality of form, it's just gorgeous. We get this swirling mass. Unification, the dance of creation, the cosmos. So the second path comes in at card 13, which is after 12, but you'll see as we go through, then they're not broken up like that. This is the second path, and I think Cilla said probably the path that most people might fall into, you know, particularly if we've experienced sudden death, that confused state, you know, what's happening. I often used to think when I was much younger that, you know, you'd arrive in some sort of like hospital ward where, particularly if you've had a tragic death or you're not prepared for death, where you rest and you gain some clarity and you heal. The first dawn, after that confusion, it would dawn on you. But, you know, I know this is a dawn like the dawning of a new day, but that first dawn after death, after the confusion, the reality setting in. Flying, I think this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They're not just flying, they're soaring, aren't they? The bee dance, I think this is so gorgeous. What a gorgeous card. Further up, further in, which was the C.S. Lewis quote. Soul family. I think that's beautiful. We often talk about soul friends, but there is some talk as well, and I've heard lots of people talking about soul groups and soul families, where we choose those that we're going to share an experience with in our next incarnations. Freedom. The shining sea. Look how beautiful that is. Then we have the third path at card 21. Now this is, lost, totally bewildered, lost. Those souls that perhaps some people believe are trapped here, in the physical world, although operating on a different frequency, those that have not been able to move on. And is that due to fear? So we really do get these kind of darker energy cards now. And then the state of limbo. The dark glass. The psychopomp. So the psychopomp is, how best to describe it? A being, really. A being that assists spirits on the other side to transition, really, to go on their new journey and their new directions to wherever that may be. Anubis is one that springs to mind. We've got the kind of shaped face there as well for Anubis, which is interesting. We have release. And what I love, we've got, just look at this, green walks. I mean, this is my idea of a perfect afterlife. I'm hoping for something like this, just beauty of being surrounded by gardens and hills and valleys and beautiful sunsets and gratitude. How can you not experience gratitude if you find that there's more to this? So from 21 to 29, we've gone into the fourth path. Wow, Charon. I think that's how you pronounce that. The Valley of the Shadow. Look at this little figure walking between these dark rocks. Ghosts of the past. And this actually, I know this is a Western Book of the Dead, but a lot of this is quite reminiscent from when I've got a copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And the different choices you can make which take you into different directions. The river of oil and blood. Second chance. Now what I really like about this, we've got our 4 paths, but ultimately, it's not that we lived our life, and this isn't what I believe, that we lived our life in a certain way, therefore this is your afterlife forever. I've never believed that, despite my upbringing, really. I believe that there'll always be opportunities to grow and develop, because I believe our souls are immortal. And if we have immortal souls, then they're not going to be trapped in a particular state for forever and a day. There will be opportunities to continue to make amends if there's any wrongs that needed to be righted, or second chances, more opportunities to grow and develop. So then we go through, after this second chance, this recovery stage, the breakthrough, choices. Everything comes down to a choice. Our farewells. We're preparing ourselves now for the next stage again. New soul. We've got this baby. Just realised I've got a bit of cotton or something stuck to me. I don't know how long that's been there for. This new soul, this new life in the physical, the reincarnation stage. So that now you can almost see this tiny little baby in a fetal position in reincarnation. The heart's flame, beautiful. Group soul. Who are we going to spend our next life with? The Rainbow Bridge. Look how stunning that card is. The Higher Realms. The Crystal City. So, you know, different. Remember, we've got choices. So from our choices, whether we reincarnate, who we're going to, you know, group up with, if either through reincarnation into the physical world or going on to a higher realm. We have this beautiful Crystal City. Just gorgeous. Elysian Light. And the Inmost Center. So there you have it. I mean, what an incredible, incredible deck. Everything about this deck is first class, you know, the beautiful, smooth, matte, like Cilla's decks are now. The presentation, I think these are the nicest backs ever. And the cards are just glorious. But everything from the packaging, I'm really excited to read the book, which I've dropped. Let me just grab that. I'm really looking forward to sitting down and reading this. I want to read all the introduction stuff, as well as the interpretations of the cards. So, yeah. Okay, so there we have it. That is the Book of the Dead Oracle by Cilla Conway. Cilla, who's fast becoming my favourite deck creator. I just love her work. Nobody yet has been able to create a deck that speaks to me on such a deep and profound way, where I feel that when I work with Cilla's art, something inside of me is changing and shifting, and it leaves me feeling quite emotional. Okay, thank you for watching. Do check out the deck and check out Cilla's other works as well. I can highly recommend them. And thank you, Cilla, for sending this to me. I appreciate you. I'm sure you know how much I appreciate you. And thank you for watching, everybody else. And until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.